We're back.
Hello.
Must be Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
Dr. Laura Dabney, relationship psychiatrist with Joelle Brant, relationship coach. And we are here. This is our welcome mat to help you, everybody out there who is maybe shy or embarrassed or ashamed to get help for an emotional or relationship problem. We're trying to make that go away. In short, we help executive men with their relationship problems, but we like everybody to feel comfortable with this process. So here we are. And we've been talking about the hidden relationship patterns that are hurting your relationship, that are toxic. Okay, so in general, if there's so we're talking about relationship patterns, we're not talking about arguments. Okay, yeah. This is a little different. This is the ongoing, what do you say, low grade problems that you just haven't addressed.
Small issues or concerns that you keep quiet about just because you don't want to make waves.
Exactly. You don't want to rock the boat, or you can put it off another time. So the feelings are not, I mean, it can be anger, but typically we're talking about feelings that are more subtle, like walking on eggshells or being annoyed or bored even.
If it's a big one.
Yeah. So if any of that's going on, guess what? It's your problem. How many times we have people come in saying, my husband, my wife, she just goes, da, 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 oh, their problems. Look, if there's a chronic problem in your relationship, either you're causing it or you're not stopping it.
Yeah. Not addressing it is a problem.
Exactly. It keeps it going, so it's a problem.
Yes.
So you don't have to change the spouse. That's the good news. You can change how you're dealing with this pattern or not dealing with it and stop it. Okay. And the reason why I would say people don't do this, if people are caught in a rut and have not addressed it in a way to stop it, it's because they value one approach over the other, right? They approach either they value either the aggressive approach or the passive approach. And that's a problem because you need both.
You got to be able to go back and forth between the two, depending on the situation.
Exactly, right? You want to be fluid in those, right? This is the person who always has a hammer for everything. You hear that saying, when a wrench would do. But there's also people who use wrenches all the time that may need a hammer. So if you think that one, that's a good one.
It is a good way to look at it.
So if you examine the pattern and your role in it, if you tend to value aggression, you're going to be sort of that one who's always criticizing, trying to get them to change, finding evidence to prove that you're right, right? That's all an aggressive approach. There's other aggressive approaches, which we would call those bad aggressive approaches. It's good aggressive approaches, which is putting out boundaries. That's our first video in this series, which was 2 videos ago. Those people think that people who value aggressive approaches think action is better. It maybe think it's more manly. Maybe think it's more valuable, right? Something along those lines is what we hear. Then there are the people who think passive approach is better, right? That's the
one, definitely people that just stay quiet or just internalize what they're feeling, or like we said before, walk on eggshells, don't want to bring it up because maybe they don't want to deal with, anger, someone being angry at them, or, the anger themselves that they feel.
Right. They're afraid of the reaction, so they keep it buried. So there's good passivity and there's bad passivity in reality. So we talk about that in our second video of this series, which was the last one. So in sum, if you're stuck in a pattern, look to see if you value aggressive approaches over passive approaches, then watch our videos and change. So you can go back and forth between the two.
Or if you notice in yourself, like, okay, I'm always aggressive, then try a passive approach.
Right.
If you're always passive, maybe add that boundary.
Right. Exactly.
Just try something different. It is definitely something where you can't always do the same thing for everything.
That's the point. You got to be able to look at yourself. Stop trying to change the other person and look at what you're doing. If you're doing the same thing over and over, it's not working. If the pattern's going on, it's not working. we hear this all the time. So if my wife just wasn't late to everything, then this would be fine and it would be over. It's if you can't stop the pattern without changing her. If she's late all the time and you just keep criticizing her,
yelling at her, getting mad at her,
right, it's still going on because she's getting defensive, because that's not good aggression, right? So what if you instead used a constructive aggression and went on without her?
Boundary.
And
Create a boundary.
Right. I'm not going to let you control me with your lateness. I'm just going to carry on and go on without you.
Let's see dinner, and she shows up. Oh, I'm almost done.
Yeah, right.
You can take yours to go.
Right. Or I'm already at the party. We're having a good time without you. Let's see how long it lasts then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what Joelle and I are saying is you have to change that pattern and find the one that works for your relationship. That's why it's on you to change, not on her, because her being late doesn't bother her. You keep waiting for her, so she's fine with it. You're not fine with it, so you have to change it. Okay, so now I said in the last one, there was one more category. So we have the aggressive maneuvers, and we have the passive maneuver, but we have one more, which is a combination, which I call a duplicitous maneuver, the duplicitous way of dealing with a relationship issue. Duplicitous ones are a combination. Okay, so my favorite one, I guess the most obvious one, is cheating. And folks, we're using cheating in the broadest sense, whether you're doing an emotional texting thing, sexting thing, looking at just looking at porn, when you have a wife or partner, those are all duplicitous, because you aren't, as Joelle's saying, you're not sharing your feelings with your partner. You're not saying, I miss our sex life. I need more from our sex life and our intimate life than you're giving me. Can we work that out? You're being passive. And then you're doing the aggressive part of sticking a knife in her throat by cheating.
Acting out.
Acting out, exactly. You're doing something outside the marriage. You're breaking a vow. You're breaking a promise. You're hurting her. Mm-hmm. Whether she knows it or not, you're hurting her. Okay. So that's duplicitous. Another example of that is, I think, keeping secrets.
Oh yeah,
sort of similar.
Is substance abuse? Would you consider like self?
Yeah, substance abuse is another one.
Okay.
Right. So again, you're not talking about the problem, you're avoiding it, but then you're hurting yourself, right? And taking yourself away with this active role of self-sabotage with substance abuse, illegal activities, drinking, anything like that. The keeping secrets I see a lot with parents who will keep a secret with a child.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Like, okay, won't tell your mom about this grade.
Right.
Or
exactly.
something along.
Right.
Like,
right. So you're passive. You're taking the passive approach. You're not going to tell your wife about the bad grade or the arrest or whatever it is to protect her. Really, you're afraid of her reaction, or think you can't handle that reaction, and you're doing something aggressive by making a pact with someone, making a vow, connecting with someone who that's not who the vow is with. That's not appropriate. Your vow is with your wife. Mm-hmm. So that's the third area, and that you also have to look at a little bit more closely, because you're doing somehow you're valuing passivity in some places and aggression in another place, and you got them mixed up. Mm-hmm.
Switched.
And maybe we should say this. We do have these listed on a document here at the office if anybody wants that. The constructive or good aggression, the destructive or bad aggression, the constructive passive approaches, and the destructive or bad passive approaches. Okay, so we have those all written down and with examples, if that would make this easier for anybody out there. And if this speaks to you in some way, please love, like, or pass it along. And we'll see you next time.
Have a good week.
Thanks.